In this video, we create MSIX packages with the MSIX Packaging Tool. Hello everyone, I'm Travis, and this is Seraltos. In this video, we walk through the process of converting an MSI and EXE installation file to an MSIX package using the MSIX Packaging Tool. Before that, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Check out my Udemy courses on AVD, Enter ID, Windows 365, and the AZ900 Microsoft certification. And thank you, channel members, your support is appreciated. Back to it. MSIX is the packaging format used for AppAttach in Azure Virtual Desktop. It supports other formats as well, such as AppX and AppV, and some third-party formats. But this video focuses on MSIX. An organization may have applications with .exe, .msi, or other installation formats. It is possible to convert those to an MSIX package. They can then be published as an MSIX or used for AppAttach. There are a few tools to do this. This video uses the Microsoft MSIX Packaging Tool. I need to give a backstory before we move on. This video started with a focus on AppAttach in Azure Virtual Desktop. To use AppAttach, however, we need an MSIX package, and that's where we need to start. So I guess that makes this part one of a multi-part series on AVD AppAttach. Anyway, I need to set expectations that the goal of this video is to create an MSIX package to use with AppAttach. MSIX package modification and management is not the focus. If you're watching this because you're new to creating MSIX packages, you need a package to test with, or you want to learn how to use the Microsoft MSIX Packaging Tool, this video will help. If, however, you have experience with application packaging and want to learn more, well, I hope you stick around, but this video is not going to cover any advanced or even intermediate MSIX packaging topics. Now that that's out of the way, here's an overview of the demo environment we're working with in this video. There are two computers, one used for packaging the apps and one for testing. The OS on both should be as similar as possible, created from the same image, for example. This will help eliminate variables if something goes wrong. An application or setting that prevents an application from running on one computer, but not the other, for example. MSIX packages need to be signed with a code signing certificate. We can use a signing certificate from a trusted authority or internal PKI. If we don't have that, we can use a self-signed certificate. That's what we'll create and use in this video. The downside to self-signed certificates is that we have to add it to the trusted root authority on each computer that runs the package. We'll install the MSIX Packaging Tool and then use it to create two MSIX packages. One from an EXE installer, VLC for this example, and a second using the PuTTY MSI installer. Be sure to stick around to the end where I provide some insights and suggestions based on my limited experience and the issues I ran into creating this video. The links to additional resources and the code used are below. Let's jump into the packaging computer to get started. Here we are logged into our packaging computer. This is the computer we'll use to build the packages, as the name implies. For the first step, we'll create a certificate. Let's open up PowerShell ISE. I only use ISE for demos because it's already installed. Here's the code we'll use. As always, the link is below. The first block is used to create the self-signed certificate. Leave usage as custom. The key usage is set to digital signature, so it can be used as a self-signed certificate. We'll save it to the current user's personal certificate store. Leave the text extensions as they are. This information sets the certificate as a code signing cert and indicates it's not a certificate authority. Next, modify the subject with your information following the format on the screen. The subject must match the manifest on the package. We'll create that coming up. And give it a friendly name. This is what we'll use to identify the certificate. Once we have that updated, we can select and run the first block of code. Once finished, we can view the certificate with the next command. That displays all the certificates in the current user's store by subject, friendly name, and thumbprint. This example only has one. Now that we have our certificate, next we need to export it as a .pfx so we can use it as a code signing certificate. We'll start by setting the path. This is where the certificate will be output to. That also includes the name of the .pfx certificate. Then we'll create a password. You can modify this password if you'd like. We will need the password in upcoming steps, so don't lose it. And then the next command will export the password protected certificate to the location we configured. Let's select and run that. The next step imports the .pfx version of the certificate into the Trusted People store. If you move the certificate to a new computer, you'd need to update the cert path to the new location and set the cert password variable again. Let's run that. Next, we're going to export the certificate one more time, this time as a .cer certificate. This is what we'll add to any computers that need to run the MSIX package. The last command is only used to repopulate the cert variables if this terminal session is closed. If you need to come back a couple days later and re-export the certificate, for example, be sure to update the friendly name with the friendly name of your certificate. Now, if we open up File Explorer, go to Documents, there are the two versions of our certificate. The .cer is added to the trusted authority on any computer that needs to run the MSIX package, and the .pfx is used to sign the MSIX packages. Save these certificates someplace safe, especially if you plan on rebuilding the packaging computer. That's how to create the self-signed certificates. And keep in mind, if we're using a signing cert from a trusted authority or an internal PKI, it wouldn't be necessary to export the .cer and add it to the computers that are going to run the package. This is a cheap alternative we're using for the lab and testing. Next, let's install the MSIX Packaging Tool. We can do this from the Microsoft Store or from Winget. From the packaging computer, let's go to the Microsoft Store. It's not uncommon to recreate the packaging computer between package builds. For example, you don't want settings changed in a previous app package to impact a different application that you're trying to package. You may need to install the MSIX Packaging Tool multiple times. And again, be sure to save certificates as well as any packages you create before you rebuild a packaging computer. From the Windows Store, search for the MSIX Packaging Tool, and we'll select Get to get the packaging tool. Once it's ready, we can open the application and close the Microsoft Store. And for my example, I'll select Yes to send the diagnostic data. Now we have the MSIX Packaging Tool installed. Now we're ready to create our first package. Remember, the MSIX Packaging Tool is going to monitor the installation and create a packaging from that. Make sure the packaging computer is as close to the computers the package will run on as possible. If you plan to use these packages for app attach in AVD, for example, start with the same image used for the session hosts. For the examples coming up, we're going to use PuTTY and VLC player. Let's copy the install files to this packaging computer. There they are. One is a MSI application and the other one is a .exe. The installers for these two applications are easily found on their website. Let's go back to the MSIX Packaging Tool. Now that we have the install files, let's create the application package. We'll create the package on this computer. There are other options that may be a more efficient way of packaging a lot of applications, but for this example, we're going to keep it simple. We'll go Next. The MSIX Packaging Tool driver will stay checking for a couple minutes. You may have to hit cancel and try again if it doesn't change the status. Notice it also shows pending reboot. I'll give this computer a couple more minutes to allow the MSIX Packaging Tool driver status to change, and then I'll reboot. The video will pause here and come back once I'm logged back in. Alright, that finished. It did take a few minutes. I also restarted the computer to clear the reboot active message. At this point, we have the MSIX Packaging Tool driver installed. Windows Updates is disabled. We don't want updates running when we package an application. And it's recommended to disable Windows Search, so let's do that. Now we can go Next. We'll choose the installer, PuTTY for this example. This is an MSI package. You can find the installer on their website. We can add a silent install parameter. Let's leave that blank for this example. For signing preferences, we'll select Sign with a Certificate .pfx. Don't select the .cer option. Browse and select the .pfx version of the certificate we exported earlier. Enter the password that we set for the certificate. I did mention we'll need that coming up. It's recommended to provide a timestamp server URL. We can use Microsoft's. Select Next. The package information is auto-populated from the MSI package and the certificate. We need to change the package name and the display name to remove the parentheses. Also, update the publisher name to PuTTY. Specify an installation location if the application has to be installed outside of the Programs folder. We'll leave that blank. MSIX Core is for application support before Windows 10. Leave that unchecked. We'll select Next. Accelerators help convert legacy apps to MSIX. We can skip that. Once we click Next, the application will be installed. We can leave all settings as default. And we don't need to read the README file. We'll finish. That finished. We could run additional installers or executables at this point to add to the package. We could also restart the computer if we needed to at this point. If you do have to restart, do it through the packaging tool. That way it knows to pick up where it left off. Click Next. We can run the application to take care of any first run setups. Let's make PuTTY the default. And we'll run PuTTY. We have to click on the icon for some reason, and we can go right-click and run or select the run option. And that opens the application. We can close it and select Next. And if we're done, we can click Yes and move on. We can leave the package report as default. The application didn't have any services, and it looks like one is recommended to be excluded. We'll click Next. We need to enter a file path. Click Browse to locate the path. For this example, we'll put it in Documents. We'll add a folder. Give it a name. PuTTY with the version for this example. We'll open that. And for the file name, we'll do the same. We'll save. And don't click Create yet. The MSIX Packaging Tool will add a dependency for the Windows App Runtime version 1.4. This is for desktop shortcuts, and in this version, it will cause an issue even though we don't have a desktop shortcut. We can't add that dependency without an advanced packaging tool like Visual Studio. I'll leave a link to more information about this below. For the sake of getting a working MSIX package, we need to remove that dependency. To do that, we'll open the packaging editor. Next, scroll down to the manifest file and select Open File. Under Dependencies, it shows the dependency for the Windows App Runtime 1.4. Let's remove that line. And make sure you're only removing that line. We'll keep formatting consistent. Next, go to Applications, Extensions, and remove all of the desktop 7 lines. Be sure to only remove those lines. With this version of the MSIX Packaging Tool, the desktop shortcut and the dependency is added to the MSIX file, but the Windows App Runtime is not added to the package. If we don't remove these lines, the package won't run. Removing these lines is a workaround to prevent an error coming up. You may be saying, but Travis, I do want a desktop icon. And that's probably not a bad idea. But to do that, we'll need an advanced MSIX packaging tool, something like Visual Studio or Advanced Installer. And that's out of scope for what I intended with this video. So next, let's save and close the manifest file. Once we're done, we can hit Create to create the package. It's going to ask us for the location again. Make sure your directory is correct. And you can leave the name set as default. Clicking Save will start saving the changes and creating the application package. That's done. Let's hit Close. And now we have our first MSIX package. Before we look at that, let's do this again, only this time with a .exe file. The process is pretty much the same with a couple little tweaks. We'll run the MSIX packaging tool again. We'll create it on this computer. We'll disable Windows Search. Go Next. Select the application package. This time it's VLC. For the signing preferences, make sure Sign with a Certificate .pfx is selected. Notice if you selected the .cer, it does not sign with that certificate. We'll browse for the certificate. Enter the password. Make sure to scroll down, and we'll enter the time server URL. Select Next. We're using an EXE for this example, and it doesn't include the package details like the MSI did. Enter the information for your package. For the package name, I'll use VLC Player with the version number. For display name, VLC Player. For the publisher display name, this example will use VLC. In the version, we'll enter 3.0.21. Package description will be VLC player. In production, you may want to put a little bit more thought into the package information. We'll click Next. There is no accelerator package. Next again. And that starts the install. Now we can run the install. Most of this will be default. We do want to uncheck desktop shortcut. Remember, we're not including those. And install. We don't need to run the VLC media player. We'll do that in an upcoming step. We'll finish, and then next. Now we can run the VLC media player. We'll close that, and that opens up the player. We'll close the player. So that looks like it's working. We'll go next, and yes to move on. This may take a minute to build the package. There are no services to include, and we'll leave bits excluded. We'll go next. Here again, we'll select a save location. Create a new folder. We'll give it the application name and version, and we'll do the same for the file. Save. And just like before, don't hit create yet. We're going to go to Package Editor. Scroll down and open the manifest file. And here again, we're going to remove the package dependency line under dependencies. And under applications extensions, all of the desktop 7 entries. We'll save and close. Maybe by the time you're watching this, that won't be necessary, but for the sake of this video at this time, that's something we have to do to get the MSIX packages running without using an advanced MSIX packaging tool. Once we have that updated, we'll create and make sure the correct location is selected. And here we can leave the file name again as it is. This will take another minute to finish. The video will pause here until it's done. That finished, and we can select close. And we can also close the packaging manager. Let's open File Explorer and take a look at our MSIX packages. There's our installers and certificates. Let's open a package folder. And for the MSI application, we have the MSIX package as well as an XML file. We won't use the XML file coming up. Let's go to the other directory. That was the .exe installer. There's our MSIX package for the exe installer. That is how to create an MSIX package from an MSI and EXE installer. Next, let's test the packages. In order to do that, we need 3 things: the .cer certificate file, the MSIX packages, and another computer with the same image to test on, or at least as close as possible. Let's start by copying the certificate and packages. Next, we'll log into the second computer to test on. Here we are on the second computer. Let's paste those files into the Documents directory. And there they are. Before we can test the applications, we need to add the self-signed certificate to this computer so the packages are trusted. Double-click on the .cer certificate to add it. We'll install the certificate, select Local Machine. We'll place it in the following store. And from here, select Trusted Root Certification Authorities. Next, and finish. That was successful. Now our certificate is added to the trusted authority on this computer. We'll click OK. We can close the certificate. Now we're ready to test the applications. And to do that, we're going to use a couple PowerShell commands. Let's open PowerShell. To add the application, we use the add apex package command. We use the path parameter, and then add the path to the package. Let's go back to Windows File Explorer, and we'll start with PuTTY. From here, we can simply right-click on the MSIX package and select Copy as Path. We'll go back to PowerShell and paste that path in. We'll run it. No errors. That looks good. Now let's go into the Start menu. Looks like there's a couple applications recommended. We'll go into All Applications. And there's PuTTY. So we can run that application. That's good. That worked. Let's add VLC next. We'll use Add AppX Package again. We'll find the MSIX package and right-click Copy as Path. And just before we run this, because I didn't do this on the last one, if we look under V, there is no VLC player. So we'll paste that in. No error again. That's always a plus. Let's go into the Start menu. There it is under Recommended. And if we go to All Applications, go down to V, now we have it. We'll open that up. Took it a second, but there it is. Now we have VLC Player. We can close that. If you want to see details about the applications we've added, we can use the Get AppX Package command. We'll add the name parameter. And sometimes the name might not exactly match the name of the application, so we'll use wildcards and search for VLC. There's our VLC player. If we want to remove the package, we can do that with the Remove AppX Package command, passing in the full package name. We have the full package name on the screen. The best bet is to copy that and paste it. That's going to remove the AppX package. And now if we go to the Start menu again, notice it's missing out of Recommended. And if we scroll down to V, it's gone. That's great. That means it worked. That is how to create a self-signed certificate, install the MSIX Packaging Tool, create an MSIX application package from both an MSI and EXE installer, and then test the package by adding the self-signed certificate and running the application. That is how to create a self-signed certificate, create MSIX packages from a .exe and .msi installer, and test the packages. Now for some thoughts based on my experience with the Microsoft MSIX Packaging Tool. And I need to remind you that my background is not in application packaging. To get started, I don't understand why the Windows App Runtime 1.4 dependency was added without a way to add the app runtime in the package. I spent a significant time trying to get the package to work before I found the LinkedIn article with the workaround, linked below. Maybe I just had bad timing and it won't be an issue when you watch this. Based on the information provided by Microsoft, the Windows App Runtime can be added by modifying the package with Visual Studio. That brings me to my suggestions if you plan to package a lot of applications. First, if possible, don't do it. Converting existing applications to an MSIX package is not a trivial task. Use existing packages from the vendor if possible, look for third-party options, or try using the winget download command to download the application packages from winget. If you have to package existing applications, consider using a third-party MSIX creation and packaging tool, such as Advanced Installer or MSIX Hero, just to name a couple. These tools will help with the complete lifecycle management, including creating, modifying, and updating the packages. And remember, not all applications can be converted to an MSIX package. I hope that helps you better understand how to create packages with the MSIX packaging tool. Thanks for watching.